Well, good afternoon, and thank you once again for tuning in to the Raymond Hall Show. I'm your host, Raymond Hall, and Erica Flynn Walker is still out, so we're going to just acknowledge that we wish her all the best in her endeavors and look forward to her return. We have in studio with us today Mrs. Crystal Davis, and she and I have a history of working together in the community. Today we're going to be talking about two things that's a little tough to talk about. One of them has been being discussed from every end of the country, and that has to do with the divisiveness that's going on. It's interesting how you can come up with the word divisiveness or hate or anger or whatever it is, but you remember Mrs. Walker talked about the preamble being like the door to her grandmother's house, and how because she lived in the house, her perception of what went on past that door was different than for some people when they came to the house at different events of the year, family gatherings or those kind of things, what they saw from the front door of the house. So now we're talking about the Kaepernick. We're talking about, first of all, it was something interesting. There was a veteran that told him that instead of doing what he was doing, to take a knee, because a knee symbolically for a veteran means something totally different. So Mr. Kaepernick asked the veteran that he was a ball player with him, and he asked him, well, hey, would you take a knee with me? He said, no, man, I'm a veteran. I'm not taking a knee. I'm going to stand and hold my hand over the heart. But if you want to make your statement, rather than to sit down like you were, to take a knee, then people who understand what taking a knee means, taking a knee. So I thought that was really interesting. And the other thing is let's look at some things in the true light of day. When someone becomes a part of active military service, you're given some commands that you don't want to obey, and you're given some orders by some people you don't really want
to receive
it from, Yes. But because you took an oath to defend the nation against all enemies, foreign and domestic, you do the very best you can, and most of the time the best that a person does is both with honor, and they do it with dignity. Yes. So even when you're standing one of those posts, you do it with honor and dignity. And sometimes you encounter things that are with you in the course of service, and sometimes those encounters may be at the cost of loss of limb or life.
Yes. So
there's no one fast rule about the flag. I heard a man say today, why he don't understand. Some people use the flag and make it a head rag, and some people fold it up as a handkerchief and let it hang out of their pocket, and everybody's doing everything with the flag. And when you look at when all of this was really done, like that preamble in the Constitution, it wasn't talking about African Americans.
Right, many generations ago, we were not included.
That's right, we were not included. And that's the whole purpose of this show, the Raymond Hall Show, is that it's a different conversation. Mm-hmm. And the different conversation is we are an exceptional people, and this is not just for Black people, African Americans. This is for the nation, because when you look at the course of the nation, no matter what corner your community comes out of, that community is there because of the contribution of service
of the people that have served.
Okay, it's not just active military service is recognizable. Somebody come back in a uniform and people salute them, and you have these really life experiences. But it's the teachers that's in the school.
Yes.
They have a job, but it's the way they do that job that moves that job from just a job to their performing service. Those are the future citizens, the future leaders, the future workers of America. So when you do your job, like I say all the time, when you do your job, the biggest benefactor of you doing your job is you and your house.
Right.
But when you give service, the benefactors of the service are people in the community, and sometimes that community service, somebody in Washington or somebody in Texas or somebody, in Arizona may say, hey, that's a pretty good idea, and let's make it a federal law, and that's the way things go. So today's show, we're going to be talking about two things. We're going to be take a real look once again at this idea of who really can call what. I 45, I got all the respect for 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I got all respect for the office of the presidency. I really do.
The seat.
Yeah, I'm a old Marine and I'm a veteran now. Let's not get it twisted. I don't have no memories or allegiance to roll that clock back.
Gosh.
Okay, so I'm just a veteran.
Yes.
But the Marine Corps is called the president's own because the Marine Corps is the only branch of service that can be moved by the president without an act of Congress.
Well, how about that knowledge?
Yeah, they do what they want to do. But the Marine Corps is the only branch of service that the president can send anywhere in the world without an act of Congress.
How about that?
Okay, so that's what makes it special to me. And when you have a person that don't seem to understand, the power that you have, you get to call in other dignitaries and other leaders of countries Rocket Man.
Well, you kind of consider the source. Now, those who have served in military, they have that respect, they have that training, they have the discipline, they know what to say and all of the different appropriate attires. They know it because this is how they were trained. But when you have not received training and you just appear, you may do and say anything and be out of order because you have no idea of what you should be saying.
Yeah.
So,
well, here is what makes the reason for the Raymond Hall show special to me is that I look back and I think about what service has done for this nation. We truly are now we the people. See, when they wrote it, it was a little caveat over there where, hey, we own slaves and we writing this thing for we the people. So you aren't considered in our we the people plan. Okay. You're considered in the plan over here. So through those miracles of God, and the graces and mercies, is interesting how he can have somebody to write something for somebody else several hundred years down the road. Okay,
Did you say God?
Yeah, I did say God because here's the thing. When I say God, I'm talking about my understanding. You may call the Creator by another name to your understanding. Let's not get sidetracked on the issue. The issue is the reason that we are at liberty, all of us, from border to border and shore to shore, we are at liberty to be of service because other people before us have given service.
Right. They gave their life. They shed their blood to make sure others in certain positions, had their comfortability and they were not threatened, if you will, by other powers that were against them.
They threw off the powers of Europe and Spain and all that stuff, talking about we want to come here and we don't want to do that. But then here someone else comes and forget what it felt like with what they had to deal with, and okay, let me own a few of these.
But would you feel that this whole fabric is unraveling? Do you feel
No.
that it's not? You
No.
don't feel that it's not unraveling
No.
and that it's not coming apart?
No. What I feel is that this is just their latest shot at an attempt to. You see, for it to unravel, everything that has been given would have to be taken away. The reason, they finally, under Ronald Reagan, they went hard after dismantling unions. But the only reason that the union was there in the first place was because the working conditions had gotten so deplorable that they needed something to speak to them. So you can do all these things you want to do. It'll come back around that people will say, you know something, it's not right for you to make $10 gazillion in a year, and I'm barely able to put a loaf of bread on my table working for my children, working for your company. At the end of the year, I got nothing, and you got $10 gazillion.
Major problem.
Major problem.
Major problem. That's why I feel that it's unraveling the way things have been going on for so many generations. I look at music, these artists today, they don't have the same patriotic view of this country and feel that this country has served them. They feel like it's to each his own. I got to get mine while I can because these people don't care about me.
Why do you think it's like that? Why do you think?
I think because what they have seen in the streets and experienced, most of the people that we basically have peer with is those that are either just over broke. Or they're in poverty, and some of them are maybe trying to have their own business, an entrepreneur. But the majority of them have, I would say, this country has failed them with that American dream, having the house, the husband, the kids, and.
Well, I'm not talking about the American dream. What I'm saying is this. What I want to ask you is this:
country,
what
right?
is the one element that was removed? What was the one element that was there, and then the one element that is definitely removed to agree, if not removed at all?
Well, I mean, first of all, it comes to my mind is our men in our communities, our black men. You don't see the strong black men that you used to see back 10, 20, 30 years ago. Okay. And some of them have gone off to war, have not returned. Some of them have gone through a whole lot of channels.
Okay.
So that's why I said it's unraveling because people are not believing what anybody has told them over this country is this so great, this country is that. This country seems to be totally another country. It's not the same country that I knew when I grew up.
It's not the same country that it was when you grew up and I grew up, and thank God it's not. But I'm going to put it down to I'm going to put it down to one word.
Service.
What? Service.
So where does service really begin? I'm a church person, you're a church person.
Right.
We serve in church.
Right.
That's our honor and our duty really to God and the assembly of people to serve in church. And the ushers, the choir, the deacons, they all have their places. But then outside of church, where is that service continuing?
Let's.
I mean, I don't want to go too far.
No. That's remember, this is the Raymond Hall Show, and it's all about service.
Yes.
Service,
you are a great
different conversation.
I have to say that you are a great servant.
Well, thank you. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter. This is where Mrs. Erica Flynn Walker was so good. She had it down. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all that kind of. Okay, now let's get back to what we're talking about.
Google him.
Okay, now, so service.
Yes.
It's one thing to go into a house of worship and participate in a worship service event.
Okay.
It's another thing to go across the street and see someone that you know is a veteran that is homeless. And you say, how you doing? Or what can I do for you? Or thank you for your service. And then what you do is to do something And this is where the service part began. When you stick out your hand and shake the hand of that person, and now their hands are dirty, greasy, they've been sleeping on the street, you don't know where they've been, it's okay for us to say, hey, thank you for your service, and reach in our pocket and give them some change or give them $1 and this and that, but don't touch me. Your service comes when it goes past your comfortableness.
Wow.
That's where service comes.
So not just the comfort of
It ain't
the
about
sandwich and giving it to you. You want to touch them and cleanse them.
Me coming to Morris Media Studios, and I thank God for Felicia Morris and Morris Media Studios here in Leimert Park. Me coming here, I enjoy the experience of coming here, but really, that's what you want me to talk about? Service? You gave me a heart transplant. You know, I go to the altar and I'm saying, Lord, what do you want me to do? I'll do it, whatever you want me to do. He said, what I want you to do is I want you to get up and do something. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm ready. Do I get to drive in big Mercedes? Do I get to get in houses that lean on the hill? Do I get to fly around?
So
you know what it is? And
he visit. The fatherless.
The
widows.
He said, I want you to get up and do something.
He didn't tell you what?
He doesn't tell you what. What he does is he clothe you all of your life what he has sent you to do.
Okay. So it's equipped already with it's in you what you should do. So it comes out, I guess, when you're
it comes out. When I was in high school, they said, well, Hall, you always talking. We're going to run you for most loquacious. I don't think I made it, but I've been talking all my life. The difference is have some understanding and wisdom about what you're talking about. Make a contribution through conversation and just don't be an idiot talking. So once you become equipped, then you have to sit and listen. In those 6 years, in and out of the VA hospital, those 6 years of seeing men much older than I, and they had these incredible contribution stories with life. Not only did they serve in service, see, when you go in service, you ain't gonna get paid enough. You're not gonna like where they send you. You're not gonna like who you live with. You're not gonna like people talking to you like they talk to you. But still, you're gonna step up to the plate and do the absolute best you can with what you have. Mm-hmm. That's the service part. How do we think? Why do we think that Montfort Point was so important? Montfort Point is where the first black Marines were trained at. They couldn't be trained with white.
Point.
Yeah, when you go and look it up now, they make it like it's some really nice place. But when Montfort Point was started, that was where black Marines had to go to get trained.
God, see, that's a problem right there, segregation.
No, it's not a problem, because what it was, these young men that said, I will be a Marine, I will do what it takes to be a Marine, they straddled up in consciousness so that they could be an example for people to look at many years down the road. So if your life is challenged because you have a road that's tough to travel, somebody is not going to look at you equally like this. Popovich, the basketball coach. He said folk don't want to admit. White folk, they can start at the 50-yard line while black folk have in a 100-yard race. They can start at the 50-yard line where we have to start at the 100. You know, people are having some conversations that's real now. Yes, and what these young people have done before us, they gave us an example that no matter what kind of calling you have, it is the posture with which you do that service that's going to count.
Yes, and I want to say it's
Tuskegee
hard.
Airmen, the Red Ball
Express. It's been hard. Yeah. I'm sure it was
and it's going
hard
to continue
for
to be.
them. And when I said that about the problem of being segregation, I have to rescind that and say, you know what, I think I didn't live at that time, but it's possibly that it was the good thing for us to be, separated and taught and trained, because we could be free to learn in the environment in which we are comfortable in learning, instead of trying to fit in somebody else's environment. That's not our way of how we learn. It's not how we live. And then we're trying to fit and force. So it was probably good that they learned among their own, selves.
For molding purposes, it's always good to be taught by friendly and familiar. Mm-hmm. Your family is both friendly, yes, and familiar.
So yeah.
So we went to black schools.
Yes.
Okay. And yours, if it was like me, your book was the raggedest book in town, but you didn't know it because everybody wrapped it in a brown paper bag.
We didn't know that we were poor.
You didn't know that. Yeah. And see, the thing about it is we are rich today because when you read the preambles, a document that was written hundreds of years before the blessing of the document came upon us, that's a clear demonstration that I'm going to put everything you need for you before you get to what you need. Mm. Let me put it another way. and like I said, if you want to engage in progressive thinking, okay, if you're in a corner somewhere trying to turn the lights out, just leave me alone. Okay?
You got some of those.
I know, it's okay, though. They're part of the world.
They can't take
Look, I don't care what book you read. When you read that part of the creation, whether you're reading the Quran or whether you're reading the Bible or whether you are reading, there's other truth books that I've read, and yes, the creation always is out there. You notice that everything that man needed was created before man was created, okay, according to the truth book.
Yes.
So I have found that the challenge is not your challenge. The challenge is pushing through those things that would come against you.
We have a call.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I have a caller.
All right. So anyway, we're going to shift gears and we are going to go to the line. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. This is the Raymond Hall Show.
All right.
And thank you for staying with us. Again, you're looking and tuning in to the Raymond Hall Show. This is Raymond Hall, and here is where we have a different conversation. We are going to shift gears now. We are going to, earlier this week, I had a dear friend who shared with me that we lost a veteran, and we lost him through him taking his life. And this is a subject that has been really close to me because I've known too many veterans who have come to their end by their own hand. And so I spoke to my friend, and he's also a clinician, Derek. Derek, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Why don't you let me hold on a minute? Let me give a little bit more information. According to Veterans Affairs statistics, we're losing, depending on what article you read, anywhere from about 21 to 22 veterans a day. And that's just way too many. And one article went a little bit further and said that the biggest loss is out here on the West Coast, and it's in rural areas. Now, I'm often engaging veterans. I do what I can to just kind of help them. I've served in the early 70s, and I've had those issues where I've had to deal with things and try to make sense of things and find out what works and what doesn't work. So we really try to work with the veteran and work with the Department of Veterans Affairs, not work for them. I don't work for the VA, but we try to work with anything, any of their community events like stand downs and those kind of things with the broadcast and that kind of stuff. And some of it you can go to our Facebook page and those kind of things and kind of see it. I think we have it up from the last Compton stand down a couple of weeks ago. But what was different about this was this young man was somewhere between 68 and 70 years old, Vietnam vet. And he was 100% service connected. So he did not fit my mold of the veterans that I had known to take their own lives. And it shook me enough that I shared with my friend and fellow vet, Derek. And we just said, well, we're going to address this issue on this show. So with that said, Derek.
Yes, sir.
What are your thoughts?
Well, as you and I were talking about it before, as far as the percentages of veterans who are committing suicide versus those who are trying to get help through the VA versus those who are dealing with it on their own. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was like a 30% higher rate with the veterans who are actually trying to get help.
Yes. One was 38 point something, and the other was 9 point or 6 point or something like that.
Right. It was like 8 point something, and we kind of rounded them all up to the 9. And so, speaking as a veteran who has PTSD, the process for which the VA uses can sometimes open up a door.
Yeah, we talked about that.
They don't close. And so, you have to basically talk about the trauma in order for you to get your disability or compensation rating. And then when you leave, now you're left alone to deal with that trauma.
Right.
And so that has been the course of action, and a lot of veterans are suffering from that, to the point that a lot of them, 30% more, are committing suicide versus those who just keep the door shut in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, as I shared with you, we both talked about the same thing, because that was my experience, and in my early years, it just wreaked havoc in my life.
Right.
Yeah, it just you go in and they would talk to you. Oh, let's talk to you about this event, and you talk about it, and then okay, well, it's time for me to see my next patient. And then wow, what? Okay, you almost wanted to say, well, can you put me back to sleep? And when it's my time again, wake me up, because you did not want to go home with that door open. It just, it was too much to put on somebody else. Right. But put on somebody else we did. So what's the answer? What do you think is to have 22 a day?
Right. Okay.
If you roll that times 3, that's 66. So you're talking about better than 600 veterans dying in a month.
Yeah.
Is that my math, or is that?
No, that's about right. 30 days times, 22, and then you start multiplying that by a year and decades. The numbers are quite frightening. One of the things, a trend that's been going on with the VA, I would probably say within the last 5 years, is that they're starting to recognize the benefit of alternative care.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is a lot of veterans now, they provide them with an opportunity to go to, say, yoga for meditation. Things that quiet the mind and to give the veterans some type of stress relief, stress reduction, anxiety, teaching them about breathing methods, and et cetera, even like art, just things to relieve just enough stress so that it can become a little bit more manageable. And they're noticing that as the veterans are finding these ways to kind of cope, then those are the ones who seem to have a higher rate of not resorting to the unfortunate, like whenever you have no hope, that's when people are at the door of possibly committing suicide.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is to reduce the stress and give the veteran hope to get them through to the next day.
Yeah. I remember 94, 93, 94, when I was told I had to close my company, and it seemed like everything that I had, I was losing. I was losing my company, losing my home. They had told me that I was going to need a heart transplant, and that was so foreign to me. This was before the VA. This was a doctor that was charging $1,000 an office visit. And so that's how I got to the VA. I ran out of them $1,000. So so the VA, when I was waiting, I ran into this young man, Charles Ellis. I think he's a part of government, county government now, I'm not sure. But he worked at the VA back then. And I went to these classes, and every time I went to these classes, I heard my story. Even though I didn't have to go to the class, I was just waiting for a transplant. I was just living there because I needed a transplant. And I heard the story of the alcoholism. I mean, I went to school, I went to work, I had a family, and I didn't call myself an alcoholic. You can't, somebody drinking mom's cognac, you can't be no alcoholic. We were alcoholics when we was drinking that Boom Farm wine in service. But now, I own a company and I'm a family guy, and, so I'm drinking mom's cognac. I'm not no alcoholic. Biggest alcoholic it was.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, biggest alcoholic it was. And so anyway, I went and I heard my story over and over and over with the guys that was living in the domiciliary. And Mr. Ellis was the only person there that could talk about things and know how to close that door. Because you got to imagine something. Now, we are all veterans in a domiciliary on all floors in their domiciliary. Now, imagine all of us got issues and all of us get our doors open and don't nobody close them.
Right.
Yes.
That was no, okay?
Yeah,
but
that's not a good recipe.
not a good recipe. But he was good at getting us to see that we needed help. Okay.
I got a call yesterday, Raymond, and it's someone that I think I have tried to connect you to before, Anthony Williams. He's, I think, the president of the National Association of Black Veterans. He called me about a young lady. They have a meeting every so often at downtown on 18th at the Patriotic Hall.
Right, Bob Hope.
Yes. And so he was basically telling me about a young lady who came and presented her plan for art therapy for veterans. and she's looking for, I guess, some funding or whatever to create these workshops. But he called me because he knows I'm involved with the art and the music, and he wanted me to connect her to Lynn Crandall. Mm-hmm. So this is very interesting. Derek is on the line talking about this. I'm like, that's major closure to some of these issues that's happening in their mind, and how powerful art and music and therapy is.
Well, we have a section. We're gonna finish this in about a few minutes, but we were gonna talk about that. This suicide is a little different. Imagine if you had blood on your hands, but you constantly washed your hands because you just can't get that blood off your hands. Mm. Imagine you cannot forget a certain sound, or you can't. Imagine going to sleep and just the reverse of what actually happened. Mm-hmm. Okay, in other words, you were running, and now somebody is chasing you. You know what I'm saying? And yes. You get so much medication that you have no life no more. Oh my God. You just sit on a sofa, and your head clear for breakfast, and then it clears again for lunch, and then it clears again for dinner, and then you start all over with all this medication. Okay. Right. Yeah.
This is what's happening. This is how their life is. Some of them that's dealing with these issues.
Well, I'm saying that. Remember, we were talking about being clothed earlier for a reason.
Yes.
No more than anybody else, I said drink. I didn't go home and turn a bottle of whiskey up to my mouth. No, you put it in your bar, and when you come home from work, you have a glass, and you have a drink, and to stop by the store and to buy some more when it's running out. So what I'm saying to you is that they call it self-medicating. Mm-hmm. So while I'm at work, I'm busy, but then when I get home, I don't want to think about it. So you have a drink. The VA can't prescribe you a fifth of Mom's cognac, but they can prescribe you pills in a multitude of combination of forms that does the same fact. Now, I'm not saying that the VA is wrong or anything like that. They're doing the best they can. I'm just saying this human experience, when it comes to service and harm that has to do with another human being, it's a lot deeper and it's a lot stronger than someone who has not had that experience, even though they may have so much clinical knowledge. Mm-hmm. It's something about that personal experience, and it's something about I just don't let people open my doors no more. Right. Now, I can open my own door, get my point across, because I know how to close my door. Mm-hmm. But I don't let them little 2-year interns and them little folk that's just on rotation. You can't talk to me.
Volunteers.
No. Oh, I don't even go past the volunteer. They already know Lee Ray Hall long. Don't even talk to him. Okay, but my point is, this show, the reason that I wanted my friend Derek to come on, because we both are veterans. We both have significant ratings for PTSD. Mine is 70%.
What?
Okay, yeah. Oh, see, it's not that.
That's a serious thing, PTSD, because I realize some of these gang people living in the streets of LA, they suffer from PTSD.
No.
Not to the extent maybe you guys.
No,
Derek is going to say something.
Hold it. I'm going to have to check that at the door. Let me tell you something. I've heard people talk about, gang member and this and that and this and that. I try to keep my mouth shut because I don't know everything and I ain't trying to. Okay? But a person who says I will give service to the nation has a different spirit than somebody walking up a block trying to shoot somebody and talking about we got PTSD. No, it's two totally different things.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what I'm saying is that I want wanted my friend Derek to come aboard, and we talk about this thing. So if this thing is sitting out there on Facebook or Twitter or something else, and a vet is having problems, that they can say, hey, you know something? These cats talked about something, and they said something about opening doors and shutting some doors. Just remember, when that thing comes upon you, it's because somewhere, some kind of way, a smell, a touch, an environment, something said, somebody put their hand on your door and opened that door.
Right.
If you find a way to close that door, it gets better. That's the whole purpose for this show. Right. I'm not a clinician. I can't prescribe any medicine. I can't be there. When my friend told me that somebody somewhere between 68 and 70 years old took their own life and they 100%, let me tell you something. Everybody running around trying to get their 100% rating. That's not the end of the game. The end of the game is to learn how to live with your rating. The objective is if it is due to you. Your objective is to get the rating that you deserve. But what is the end goal is to learn how to live with that rating. That means you got to learn how to take care of yourself. You got to learn how to close some doors. You got to learn how to, if you smell that smell, or do that, get up and walk. Get up and talk. Go to a library somewhere where it's quiet. Go do something. Get up from where you are and go do something. If it's a situation, okay, I give you one that's real silly. Take all of your money, go to Macy's, buy you some, but spend all your money at Macy's. Keep the receipt. And when that feeling is over with, return everything to Macy's.
What?
Yeah, I used to do stuff like that.
Oh my God.
Okay, because I didn't want all that money around me to be just stay drunk and everything. So I just go and I knew I could go to the bank and go get some more money, but that wasn't the case. The problem was the money that was in my pocket. So I just go to Macy's, go to Ross, go anywhere, spend all the money. First thing I'd ask them, can I bring it back? Yeah, they say, yeah, okay.
Oh, God.
I spend all the money because sometimes the feeling doesn't last but a little while. Sometimes you'll get angry or something about something, and you that thing that will enable you, that money was going to enable me. So I go right into Macy's.
So what are you telling them to do now? Is there something that you're offering? They can come to you, call you. Are you going to be somewhere? Because this sounds very serious.
It is very serious.
And whatever, I mean, even me, whatever I can do to support, let us know.
Well, you're doing what you can do, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And I want to let Derek talk about, because he has something very interesting. Mm-hmm. He told me something last night. He said, you be running from it. And that's right. That's true. But
what is it, Derek? What is it? Tell us. We want to know.
I'm going to be quiet, so you got to go ahead, man, and talk to him. But he's a clinician. Okay, go ahead.
Right.
So one of the things, as Mr. Hall stated, is that we both suffer from PTSD. I also have a 70% rating with PTSD. And I came across something a couple of years ago that helped me to manage. And that's what it's all about, that tape that's being played in your head, being able to cope, being able to manage, and almost kind of desensitize or release some steam so that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And the thing that I'm referring to that has helped me is called hypnotherapy. When you look at all the alternative methods that the VA is utilizing that's actually being effective, especially when you're using it as a team along with a psychologist and a psychotherapist, it's all about shutting down the conscious mind, because that's where the tape is being played over and over and over again. So you want to try to put that tape on pause. So with what hypnotherapy does is, like, when you deal with a psychologist or a psychotherapist, then they deal with like a cognitive portion, a conscious portion, to try to get you into what caused the trauma. And then when you bring up the trauma, then it brings up an emotion, it brings up a mental state and that's where the problem exists.
Right.
Because they're trying to deal with cause, but the individual is not necessarily at a mental or emotional state to deal with cause.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff you forget because the way the mind works is it'll block it out to protect you. So now you're digging, and you're pretty much resurrecting that thing. So now you go into this loop or this cycle.
Right.
So what hypnotherapy is the same thing. Hypnotherapy, it has a cognitive portion, but it doesn't deal with cause. It deals with behavior.
Okay.
For example, if a person who has PTSD, like one of the things that one of the symptoms of PTSD is you no longer enjoy doing what you used to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what a hypnotherapist does is say, okay, let's deal with that. Not cause, not why you don't enjoy it anymore, but let's deal with what did you used to like to do. And let's just say, for example, for me, it was salsa dancing, right? So now the hypnotherapist can get me to a point of relaxation, shutting off the conscious mind, dealing with behavior, because we all deal in patterns.
Yeah. Well, Derek, let me ask you to do this because we have very little time left. We're inside of that 10-minute mark. Why don't you give the audience some contact information? Okay. And they can always, get with you and you can give them a more in-depth. I wanted people to know that there are alternatives. And it would really be remiss of me if I didn't share my little silly side of the coin, how I used to go to Macy's, buy something, but also the side of the coin where persons like yourself who are professional have really been able to help people through your professional career. So how do people contact you?
They can contact me two ways. You can contact me at focus2hypnosis@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
Or they can call me at 562-209-2804. One of the things I do want to put out there, because it's a legal thing and it's important to know that a hypnotherapist is not a licensed medical professional.
Okay.
So if they want help in order to help a veteran, then there needs to be a referral from their psychologist or their psychotherapist, and I can help them get that. That's not an issue, but it's more about putting together a team.
Okay, so Derek, we really got to cut out. So there's Derek Williams, and give us that number one more time.
It's 562 209
Okay.
2804.
2804. Okay, well, Mr. Williams, thank you so very much for coming on and sharing that with us. The thing about this suicide just rocked me because it was an older veteran, and he had his rating, and something still caused him to, take his own life. So you who are having challenges, we want you to have some options. Okay. Get up and do something. Okay. And if nothing else, if you think nobody is listening, pick up a phone call. I've never called the VA hotline, but if you think it'll help you, please do that. Yeah. Okay. And one other thing that I can share with you that would be vitally important: share your service experiences with someone else. Don't take those experiences away like that. Share them with someone. Let that be your reason for sticking around, that I'm going to share my experience, that it may be a help to someone else. I'm not saying that what you're dealing with is not serious. I know it's serious. You just heard a tip of the iceberg of what I went through. Okay, I'm not going to tell you about the dark days and the hard days. I'm not going to tell you about the days that I just went from wall to wall and just couldn't make it past a window. So I'm not going to say I know what you're going through. I'm saying I know what that door may feel like. I know what my door may feel like, and it's not a good thing. Put everything that you've experienced to work for you and share that service experience. Okay? We're going to, Derek, don't go nowhere because involves you as well. Now, Crystal, you're involved in a family restoration project.
Yes, you can call it that.
Okay. Now, talk to us, share that with us.
Well, Family Love Outreach Workshop has been something that I feel that the Holy Spirit downloaded to me back in the early 2000s, and it is definitely designed to bring family together in every capacity possible, to live and work together, have peace, harmony, to financially excel by pooling resources, gifts, talents, creating that corporation type of a life within a family, which we just know that we needed. So this is happening in a presentation form for about an hour. Next Tuesday, October the 3rd. There is a connection that I have to the USC Art Gallery. There's a USC CSC, I will say. CSC stands for the Clinical Science Center at the Health Science Campus of USC up on Soto. So I have information, and the invitation is early in the morning at 7:30 a.m. till 9 a.m., and we will be presenting music, art, and technology, and looking for those to partner and collaborate with this USC collaborative opportunity. And it is some of everything. We actually deal with veterans, we deal with homelessness, we deal with every situation really that is in a family setting, what's happening in our life. And we are in line to receive a collaborative grant, a block grant for the works that we're doing. So we're looking to make sure our partnerships are sure through this time, and it's a meet and greet to make sure everybody has access.
Now, when is the
Tuesday, October 3rd.
Okay, at what time?
7:30 a.m.
Okay, all right. All right, everybody heard that. Now, we're going to do a little community stuff here. I know it's late, but Women Warriors is having these. This is an American Legion post as well. I'm a member of Post 109 out of Bryant Temple, right here on Vernon Avenue. But Women Warriors is a American Legion post for women veterans, and they're having something. If someone can get to it tonight, okay. They are Post 291, and they're American Legion Newport Harbor Post, and they are having an event this evening. So if you can get there, they're taking donations anywhere from $10 to $50. They do a wonderful thing. They've been around a long time, and for a long time, female veterans had a hard go of it too. So things are getting better on the thing. Don't forget Post 109 and Post 109. At Bryant Temple. Also, if you're in the Los Angeles County area, for the first time since 2004, they are opening up the rolls to apply for one of those Section 8 things. Yeah, so make sure that you look into it and you can apply. We're coming up on the last minute. This hour just goes so fast. Look.
And you're having fun.
Yeah, we want to thank Crystal Davis, our in-studio guest, and we want to thank Mr. Derek Williams. He's always good, got good information, and I'll tell you, he's a heck of a friend.
Yes.
We want to thank our co-host that's not with us, Erica Flynn Walker, and that she be well and her family be well and everything. And we want to thank you for tuning in to the Raymond Hall Show, where service is the conversation of us. Now, go to the web and look up a senior salute. That's demonstration of service. People who are now senior in years and are selected, they get the award for service to the nation and service to the community. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, the Raymond Hall Show. And we just thank you. We'll see you this time next week back. And look, don't let nobody divide your house. Okay, don't let nobody divide your house. You remember that your service has kinship with the service that's been given before you. Thank you for tuning in. This is Raymond Hall at the Raymond Hall Show. We'll see you next week. God bless you. Stay strong.